Hello kids, welcome to the new video. In this video, we are going to learn lesson 9, that is plants, form and function. So children, you have already learned about the types of seeds in plants. We have learned the lesson more about plants in standard 5, where you learned about monocotyledonous and dicotyledonous seeds. You've also learned about the different types of root systems in smaller classes, and you've learned that the different parts of a plant can be modified to store food. This lesson is going to be a conglomeration of all these things that you've learned, and you're going to learn a few new facts about plants too. So look at the picture and try to answer the questions. Can you identify the fruit that is here? Yes, it is a coconut. Does it grow on a herb, a shrub, or a tree? Now, if you remember, in lower classes, we've learned that a plant can be a herb, a shrub, or a tree, or a climber, or a creeper, depending on the thickness and the strength of its stem. So, on what kind of a plant do coconuts grow? Yes, it is a coconut tree. What color does it become on ripening? On ripening, the color of the coconut becomes brown. A rough fiber is obtained from the plant. If you remember, the fiber from the coconut seed, the husk, is used for making rope, it's used for making mats and different other products. And it is called as coir. This is what it looks like, the husk. And this material is used for making ropes and other stuff. Who's who? A scientist who studies about plant life is called as a botanist, and the study of plant life is called as botany. Let's take a look at a few more plant adaptations. Some plants do not bear flowers, but this can still reproduce by producing seed-like structures that are made up of special cells. And these cells, when they fall in a different place, they can grow into a whole new plant. But at the same time, they are not seeds. What are these structures called? They are called as spores. You have learned in smaller classes. And if you look at this uh, plant, this leaf is actually called as a fern plant. Ferns are examples of non-flowering plants. We've learned this in the standard 5 also. Can you name the largest flowering plant in the world? This is a GK question. The largest flowering plant in the world is called as Rafflesia. And the smallest flowering plant is a plant called as Wolffia. Go find out if you're not aware of these answers. Recall. Now, look at plants. Plants can be classified into 4 different types depending on the kind of stem. So a plant which is big and tall and it has a very hard stem, which is called as a trunk, is called as a tree. Example of trees can be the coconut tree or a coniferous tree, which gives cones. And trees can be of different shapes and sizes. But if it has a thick, hard stem, a central stem with branches that grow out at a greater height, then it is called as a tree. A plant with woody stem is called as a shrub. Yes. And shrubs, examples are rose, tulsi, hibiscus. These are all examples of shrubs. If you look at shrubs, the stems are thin, but they are very hard and woody. Another characteristic of shrubs is that the branches, they come out from the lower part of the main stem. Whereas in trees, the branches come out after the main trunk reaches a certain height. Small plants with soft stem is called as, yes, herbs. So herbs, as you know, are commonly used in cooking. They have very thin and soft stems which can easily be cut, and we use them as food too. Example is mint, then coriander, right? And many other examples are mint, coriander, and other types of soft stemmed plants which we use for our cooking. Plants with weak stem that need support to grow, they can be creepers or climbers. So climbers, as you can see, they go around a support and they send extensions from the stem, which are called as tendrils. looking for support, to hold on to support. Examples are grapevine, pea, and money plant. Whereas creepers are plants which spread on the ground. Hmm? They don't grow vertically, but they grow horizontally. They spread on the ground and they can produce this huge, massive fruits like pumpkin, watermelon, etc. And so herbs, shrubs, and trees. Herbs, they herbs are seed. Herbs, shrubs, and trees. Herbs are seed producing. They are annual and they are non-woody plants. They have non-woody soft stems, and the stems do not have branches, but the thin stems which come out from the base of the plant. And they are really short. They don't grow beyond a certain height. Shrubs are woody plants that contain several main stems rising near the ground. They have thick but not hard woody stems. They have branches at their bases and they can be somewhat tall, not really tall like trees. Trees, they are woody perennials with a single trunk growing to a considerable height. They have to be of a certain height. They can't be short. They have thick, hard, and brown woody stems, and they have branches in a single stem. And what is that huge single stem called as? It's called as a trunk. And they are the tallest of these three types of plants that you can find. Now, how can we classify plants based on their seed type? Yes, we can classify them as monocot and dicot seed. But is there any other difference if you plant if once a seed grows into a plant, can you actually predict by looking at the plant whether it will produce monocot seeds or dicot seeds? What do you think? This is what we'll be learning about in this lesson. That is something new that we haven't learned before. Well, children, if you look at a monocot plant, for example, the corn plant, the corn, as you know, is a monocot seed. As it grows, it becomes a plant that looks like it. Look at its root structure, look at its stem, and look at its leaves. Now compare it to a dicot plant, which has grown from a dicotyledonous seed, that is a pea. Pea is a dicotyledonous seed. As you know, once the pea is soaked, you can split it into two equal halves. It has two cotyledons, right? So when a pea plant grows, this is how its root system looks like, and this is how its leaves will look like. There is a visible difference between the dicot plant, that is a pea plant, and the monocot plant, that is a corn plant, as you can see. Now let's take a closer look at their leaves. If you look at the pea plant, the leaves will have this type of a crisscross network of the small channels which run from the stem, which are called as veins. So this is how it looks like in a pea plant, which is a dicot plant. But if you look at the pattern of veins in a monocot plant, they run parallelly like this. See, line to line. They don't touch each other, they run parallelly like this without forming a crisscross network. And that is how the leaves look like in a monocot plant. So now, children, what do you think? Just by looking at the leaves, can we predict whether the seeds will be dicot or monocot? Yes, we can. If the leaves have this kind of a crisscross network of veins, then we can predict that this particular plant, when it flowers and then it produces its fruit, and inside the fruit, the seed will be there. If you take the seed and then if you grow a new plant out of it, again, it is going to be a dicot plant. It is going to be a dicot. Just by looking at the leaf, we can see. In case of a monocot plant, the leaves will always have this kind of a parallel venation where the veins, they run in lines which alongside each other. Also look at the root network. There is a difference in the root system also, about which also we will learn when we learn about the root system. So if you look at the monocot plants will have a fibrous root system. What is a fibrous root system? As you can see, the roots, there is no central root, central main thick root is not there, but rather the roots are spread out and they form like a hairy system right from the base, which is spread out, right? So this kind of root system is found mostly in the grass family of plants, which are all monocots. That is, anything from wheat, rice, millets, they all belong to the grass family. Sugarcane also belongs to the grass family. So any plant which has the parallel venation pattern in leaves, that is, veins run parallelly in lines in the veins. If you check the root system, they will have a fibrous root system. Whereas if you check the root system of a dicot plant, examples are radish, carrot, beetroot. These are all classical examples of dicot plants which have a central taproot system used for food storage also, right? So they have a central main thick stem, sorry, root, and they have these lateral secondary roots, thinner roots coming out of the primary root, and smaller roots coming out of the secondary roots, which are called as tertiary roots. So smaller and smaller roots arise as lateral branchings from the central thick root, which is called as a taproot. Now, let's take a look at the two systems in plants. So, as you know, a plant has two phases, the part of the plant below the ground, below the soil, and the part of the plant above the soil. The part of the plant below the soil is called as a root system, right? So, the root system will have the roots. In case of a dicot plant, it will have a taproot system with a primary root and branchings that come out, which are called as lateral roots. So lateral roots can be secondary roots, tertiary roots, depending on the order of their branching. And then we have the shoot system. The shoot system consists of a central stem with branches coming out, and the branches bear leaves, flowers, fruits, and so on. So what is the function of the shoot system? The shoot system is what supports the plant. It gives support to the plant, and it actually bears all the other structures of the plant, like the leaves, the branches, the flowers, and the fruits. The shoot system, in the shoot system, the stem has leaf buds and branches arising from them, which ensures that the leaf arrangement is optimum. Optimum means most ideal, the best kind of leaf arrangement. Now, why is the leaf arrangement important? Because if a plant is not going to arrange its leaves sensibly, then what happens is that if the leaves are one on top of the other, you all know that the function of the leaf is to photosynthesize, and for that the leaves need to be exposed to sunlight. If the leaves are going to cover each other, if they are arranged in such a way that they are covering each other, just one on top of the other, then obviously the leaves below will not receive enough sunlight, and they will not be able to prepare food, and it will be a waste for the whole plant to produce such leaves, right? So optimum leaf arrangement, the best arrangement of leaves so that all the leaves are exposed to sunlight, is one of the functions of the stem to make sure that this happens. And another very important function of the stem is, of course, this transport of food, water, and minerals. Water and minerals are absorbed from the root. It has to be transported through the stem to the other parts of the plant, like the leaves, the fruits, and the flowers, right? To the highest parts of the plant also, the water and minerals has to reach. At the same time, the stem also provides for the transport system, which takes the food that is prepared in the leaves to all the other parts of the plant. Because in plants also, the cells, they require energy, which is got by digesting, by breaking down the food that is prepared in the leaves. For that, the food has to be distributed. How can it be distributed? Through the steps. So as you can see, the water and minerals are absorbed to the root, and they travel through the stem to different parts of the plant. Now, what about the root system? The primary function of the root system is anchorage. I want you to remember this word clearly, and I want you to use this word itself for the exam also. Anchorage means to hold in place. To hold in place. The word anchor comes from this object that is used in ships to hold the ships in place in sea when the ship has to stop and the captain of the ship has to go to sleep, what does he do? He puts down the anchor. Why does he do this? If he doesn't do it, when he wakes up in the morning, the ship would be in some other part of the ocean where he has no idea about. So the ship would be lost in the ocean because the waves would carry the ship, the strong waves of the sea, isn't it? So similarly, the plants also need to be anchored or held in place in the soil, and this is done by the root system. All right. So the root system provides anchorage to the plants, and the root system also allows for the absorption of water and minerals. And the root system binds soil particles. We have learned in previous year that afforestation and planting of small plants in soil, especially near riversides, is a very important part of preventing soil erosion. Why? Because it is the roots that binds or holds to soil particles, and therefore it prevents soil erosion. So this is also a very important function of the root system. All right, children. So that's enough for this video. In the next video, we will learn about the modifications of the roots, the stems, and the leaf. Until then, bye-bye and keep learning.